Let's settle this with facts, not reels. So, vaccines have been able to save countless of human beings throughout history. And while it is normal to have some kind of skepticism, but that should not lead to ignorance. I wanted to have an open discussion to why I think vaccination is really important in this discussion, especially focusing on the pediatric population. First of all, how does your immune system work? Think about it as a adaptive learning network. When it sees an antigen, the part of the immune system called dendritic cells present the antigen using their MHC to B cells and T cells. B and T cells lead to memory and defense. And after that, anytime that your body's exposed to that antigen, it's able to mount the same comeback. So, what is in a vaccine? Well, there's quite a few parts, but the main parts are the antigen or the wanted poster for that bacteria. The other part is the adjuvant. The adjuvant is, in essence, a alarm bell that helps notify of the antigen. There's also the lipid nanoparticle, which is a delivery system for the mRNA. And of course, the doses that we're talking about are micrograms, so very small amounts. There's less aluminum contained in vaccines than food. So this is chemistry and not conspiracy. So what are mRNA vaccines? Basically, if you can think of DNA as your body's code and DNA as a library, mRNA is a photocopy of that code. And the ribosome is a 3D printer that works with the mRNA. The mRNA actually never enters the nucleus, and it does degrade within hours. mRNA is not something that is permanent. Spike protein is a harmless decoy for training your immune cells. No gene editing, no chip, just immune rehearsal. What is hepatitis B, and how do we prevent it in newborns? Risk of transmission from mom to baby is a lot during birth. And even though hepatitis B is something that is transmitted through blood, because of this risk and because of how much more likely newborns are to progress to chronic stage of hepatitis B, that we administer the vaccine in all newborns. The vaccination protects the infant more than 90%. And the vaccination is even able to prevent transmission or reduce the likelihood of transmission significantly in chances that we find out that the mother's positive. And in cases of hepatitis B positive mothers, transmission is almost zero if the vaccine is given with the immune globulins within the first 24 hours. The other vaccine is the HPV vaccine. HPV has been responsible for 36,000 annual deaths and cancers related to cervical, throat, and penile cancers. And since the introduction of the vaccine in the countries that have utilized it, there's been more than 90% reduction in these types of cancer. The other vaccine is the flu vaccine. Now, the flu is not just a bad cold. It kills from 30,000 to 50,000 people annually, and kids equal to spread amplifiers. If kids are vaccinated, there's up to 75% reduction of how flu can spread. Flu shot equals up to 75% reduction of severe symptoms. So protecting the kids in the household, in essence, means protecting everybody, the elderly, the kids, and someone with lower immune system. An annual update of the flu vaccine is kind of like a software patch that updates what most recent type of flu resembled. Now, the next one is COVID-19. I know a lot of parents don't really want to have their kids receive this vaccine. What I want to tell them is that kids are also prone to long COVID or MIS-C, which is a form of COVID, and even myocarditis, which is rare, but it can happen. Once the vaccines were rolled out, the amount of deaths that initially occurred with COVID when we were first introduced to it were reduced by more than 90%. A COVID vaccine equals more than 50% reduction in severe symptoms. The other type of vaccine is the HPV. Sometimes the parents are wondering if their kids are abstinent, then what is the need of getting a vaccine that is for a sexually transmitted virus? Um, HPV is a virus that has more than 200 different types. The types that are cancerous are two types only, 16 and 18, and types 6 and 11 cause warts only. Um, the issue with that sort of approach is HPV is unfortunately very common in the population. And just because you're not exposed to it at the present time does not mean that in the future you're not going to be either. So, what are some of the risks and symptoms of getting vaccine? Let's talk about the risks as well. Some of the most common ones are a slight fever or a sore arm, which is seen in about 10 to 30% of patients. As you can see, the risks are very low compared to risks that a severe disease would carry. So why would somebody have a severe reaction? What causes an immune reaction in one person and not another one is basically variations in our genes. The intensity of the reaction is determined by our HLA, which is a form of your immune cells. Genetic HLA variation leads to different immune intensity. In molecular mimicry, your body recognizes an otherwise benign molecule as something that would cause harm to the body and causes an adverse reaction. Some allergy reactions could be due to either the preservatives, which are very rare and very manageable if they happen. Some of the coincidental timing of perhaps a incubation period for a virus, which could lead to people thinking that they've had the flu after the flu virus, the flu vaccine, for example, could also explain why people might think that they've had the flu after receiving the flu vaccine. So this is exactly why we monitor the patient after having received a vaccination. For 10 to 15 minutes, we monitor for any anaphylactic reactions or severe allergic reactions. And if we do see any signals, that would lead to an investigation and updates of guidelines. There's been recent guideline updates, if you remember, to Johnson & Johnson's COVID vaccine. And there's also been recommendations for dose spacing in those cases. So as you can see, transparency equals trust in these cases. When it comes to the effectiveness of vaccines, the numbers are there. There's a lot of hope in the future of vaccination as well. Technology like self-amplifying mRNA, which needs even less amounts of the vaccines in the body, and vaccines that could potentially cure cancer or HIV. Science is quietly getting better at saving us. Vaccines equal cooperation, not control. Ignorance kills quietly, and vaccines can save quietly. Freedom means keeping each other alive. I'm Dr. G, and this is what the truth sounds like.